Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, October 29th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, and here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice in the previous session we had a huge sell-off. The inside day basically built the energy for the move that we saw in the previous session. A huge day down. It was 202% of ADR, 202% rather, of average daily range. That is a huge range. But again, this day right here gave us the indication that that could happen. That was the first big reading at 170% of ADR, and I mentioned that we could see an increase of volatility in the days and perhaps even weeks ahead. Not only increased volatility, but likely weakness ahead as well, as this narrow range broke to the downside and has released that energy to the downside. The other thing that we're seeing now is a failure to hold above the previous month's midpoint and now above the previous month's close price. We knew we were looking for a return back to that blue dot, but price is now smashed to that blue dot and is now approaching this blue line, and that's the previous month's close price. We could see that price at 3,200 within the next couple of days. So right now, a big time move here. The idea here is that when you have a downtrending market, pullbacks like this are to be defended for new lows ahead. We could be looking at significantly lower prices ahead into that 3,200 level. And then at that point, we have the 200-day moving average below, and we have that previous month's low. That could become an area there where we finally see maybe some sort of relief rally. So again, the market will continue a downward price discovery phase until rejection is seen, and right now we're seeing no signs of rejection, only further price discovery. If we take a look here at the NQ, very similar price action. This one topping out right here. This was our extreme reversal signal right there. The extreme reversal signal from chapter 2 of my book Secrets of a Pivot Boss, exactly as you draw it up. And so far, lower highs, failed new highs, and a continuation lower. Inside day in the previous session here, or 2 sessions ago, led to a major high range day last session. That was 188% of average range. So this bar right there, 188% of average range. And that started with this bar, which was again 170% of average range, and gave us an indication that we could see increased volatility. So already we're seeing a pullback, not quite to the midpoint of yesterday's range, instead fell shy at 11,300. That could open the doors for more weakness downward, again perhaps as low as that previous month's low price there. The other thing here is that previous month's low again could be in play just above the 670 zone there. But as this thing continues to push in that direction, we need to see some sort of rejection. A rejection day, something like this, right? A rejection, some sort of major rejection that could tell us that we may be headed back up. This is a major LVN down below. If we get into that zone, that could provide an opportunity for bulls to come in and become responsive buyers. But right now, everything is trending downward until proven otherwise, and we have at least a short-term target here to look at the 10,991 level, which is basically around 11K. That could be hit today. That's the 100% expansion target from the Monday's impulse sell-off range. That gives us that key level. So look for a move into about 11K, 10,990 ahead. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Now crude oil is getting crushed right now. This one is down 5% right here. Already down 5% ahead of its RTH open. This one getting crushed. You can see right here a failed new high right at that 40 level, and we have seen a push now through the key range low. We are trading into the major CLVN below, which is between 35 and 35.50, and we have seen just an aggressive break from this narrow range, and it all started with the failure to get above the 41.50 to 42 zone. When it tried, it failed right there, and then that's all she wrote as this thing continues much lower. So very bearish here is the CL until we see some sort of signs of rejection. And when you have a major trend like this that has begun down 5% prior to the RTH open, what tends to happen here is that you may begin to see some sort of range at lows, and we consolidate at lows unless we see some sort of significant rejection that brings us back above this key range low. If price can rediscover acceptance back above that low, perhaps we see some sort of rejection occur. If not, then we start opening up the downside targets here. 34.22, 32.30, and maybe even as low as 28.48 could be ahead based off of this key range. So it could be major weakness ahead if 36.13 cannot be reclaimed by bulls. So if we're going to be violating the downside portion of this impulse move and key range, you have major targets here at 32.30 and 28.48. So it could be major weakness ahead if that plays out. The key level here is going to be that CLVN at around 35. That's going to be a big difference here. We'll see how it plays out. Lastly, taking a look at gold here. With all this weakness, gold is down, which is very curious. Again, we talked about how heavy it had been in this zone here and how we may need to see a flush like this. And we're starting to see that flush. Actually saw major tests at 1874 yesterday. And while price attempted to hold it valiantly, it ultimately ended up crushing through it here already this morning. We may be looking at a major test of this low here at around 1850, but below that starts to open it up down toward the 1770 to 1800 level. You got the rising 200-day coming in. So again, all of these markets in a downward price discovery phase. More weakness likely ahead unless some signs of significant rejection occurs. So looking at more weakness ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.